15th of March, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos. There's a lot of discussion about that. There's a lot of things that now,
Anyway, I figured out how to get it onto the computer, so that I know that if you take pictures of it, it'll get back.
Oh, boy. I just got a letter back from Lynn Cars. I don't think I'm gonna start doing that. Not a heater, but I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
I just turned it up. I wanted to see what it does if it's on high.
Oh, okay. Now the solution to this problem is this dye is running out on this sweater.
Oh, is that what's happening?
I think so, because I got all these white spots, and now I see I'm getting some more here.
Mhm.
So I discovered this works. I put this on top and it looks all right. I tried other things.
Well done. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning.
Morning, Lou.
Molly.
Good morning, Lou, Maria, and good
Morning,
morning,
Roy.
Aaron. Okay. All right, do you see the snow?
I was in the snow.
Oh, yes. All right. Yeah, I walked back a few steps to the snow, in the snow too.
Uh-huh.
But it was
Snowing now?
no, it petered out and then it resurged and now it stopped.
Really? I didn't see that. I went out early this morning and it hadn't started yet.
No. But it hardly reached the ground before it was water.
Right.
I don't know how it does that. It'd be interesting to see a slow motion movie of that change. When does
Yeah.
when does it actually change? When it hits the ground or just before or what?
I went one time to the Grand Canyon and I was hiking up from the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And the Grand Canyon is, it's a mile deep.
Yeah.
And so at the top of the Grand Canyon, the climate is a winter climate in the winter months.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, it's not. It's a more like a spring climate. It never snows in the bottom.
Uh-huh.
So it was raining when I woke up, and as I was hiking up, I saw it turned into snow, and I was able to look out across the distance, and I could see up here it was snow, and then down here it was rain, and I could see right the point where it was melting.
Wow, that's amazing.
Melting in midair. It was really
Wow.
an amazing sight.
Ah.
So I don't know if that answers your question. I don't really know, but it doesn't have to be when it hits. It could be in the air. It could be the air above the ground maybe is warm also.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Did you photograph it?
No, I didn't. I doubt the camera would have picked it up. It was very subtle,
Ah.
but no, I didn't photograph it.
Mhm. Were you by yourself?
I believe I was. I think that was the first time I went. The first time I went by myself.
Uh-huh.
And the second time I went with friends.
How did you get to the bottom of the canyon?
There's a trail. You hike down there's a trail that runs along the wall.
Uh-huh.
It's very steep.
Oh. Well, it takes you about, what, half an hour to get down?
Oh, no, a lot longer than that.
Oh.
I mean, you're going back and forth on switchbacks. It's a mile
Ah.
down, but it's the distance you're traversing is more like maybe 5 miles.
Oh, I see. Right.
So no, it takes several hours to get down.
Uh-huh. So why did you go down? Because you only had to get back up again.
That's true.
Beautiful. It's beautiful down there. It's a wonderful place to go. It's one of the.
Hey,
wonders
we're
of the earth.
good.
Hmm.
Here we are together again.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Rabbi Furst.
Good morning,
morning,
good morning, Mayor. Good morning,
Rabbi Weiss.
Good morning
Okay,
to all.
fine, very good. Good to see you all. Stop the recording.
Oh, sorry, clicked the
No
wrong way.
problem. Okay, good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here at Yeshivas Amanapshi here in Yerushalayim, here in Zoom. We're learning here Pierke Avos along with Megillah Esther. Yeah, let's if someone could remind me exactly where we left off.
You Dalid.
Okay, that's in.
We're up to Zerish.
Well, okay, anyone would like to read?
I would.
You dial it. Let's see.
It's chapter 5.
Yes, chapter 5. Thank you.
Okay. Vatomer lo Zerish Ishta. So Zeresh, his wife, V'chol Ohavov, and all his friends, Yaseh, Eitz Gova Chamishim Ama, Uvaboker Omer Lamelech Vayitla et Mordechai alav. Uvoim hamelech el hamishte sameach vayitov hadavor lifnei Haman va'as ha'etz. And Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends said, let them make a gallows 50 cubits high, and in the morning say to the king that they should hang Mordechai on it. And go to the king to the banquet joyfully. Wow. Very good. She's a good wife.
Yeah, this is
Really.
if you remember,
Very
right?
helpful.
If you remember, this is why we said Oro Zeresh, right? Why should she be picked out of all people to be cursed? What did she do? So she was the one that gave the 8 sets for the gallows.
Right.
Why
Sure,
doesn't it
she's-
say that we should curse his friends?
So she was the one who led it. We always pick the leader.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, always pick the leader. She obviously led the way.
She was the ringleader who convinced her husband. She added fuel to the fire.
That's right. Very good, right? Okay, let's continue on. That'll lead us to the beginning of the Pasuk, Perek Bo, right?
Yes.
Sorry, would someone please remind me why? What would be the reason that Haman would give to the king to hang Mordecai.
That the reason that
What?
what, that, again, Roy, what's the question?
What reason would Haman give Ahasuerus for hanging Mordecai?
Okay. He's not bowing down to me. He's disobeying the king's decree. Everyone had to be
That would be enough.
subservient.
That would be enough to have him hung. All right.
I think. I mean, usually kings don't like people doing things on their own, especially if it's going to be violating their own personal command, right?
Okay. I'm glad I didn't live there.
Well, yeah.
You do, you still do.
Yeah, that's true.
Times haven't changed that much, Roy.
That's true, I suppose.
I mean,
Okay.
Just go back to 1940.
All right. So now we're up to 6, is that right?
Above, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. בלילה ההוא, לדודו שנס המלך ויאמר להביא את ספר הזיכרונות, דברי הימים, ויהיו נגרועים לפני המלך. On that night, the king couldn't sleep, and he ordered to bring the book of records, and they were read before the king.
So this is the big turning point in the Megilla Esther, right?
Yeah,
This is where things begin to turn around.
right. So now, so in this particular case, this has to be talking about Achashverosh, because Hashem doesn't sleep.
That's a good point, right?
Right, so we know that Hamelech not all the time refers to Hashem.
Just a moment. Here, I've got. I don't know what the actual Hebrew translation accurately is, but I've got here that night sleep eluded the king, which sounds like to me that Hashem played cat and mouse with Ahasuerus in not letting him sleep, in sort of maybe getting him almost to sleep and then up again and so on, to make it difficult for him, uncomfortable for him.
It was an uncomfortable sleep. I mean, he was okay.
It sounds like that was a common thing. It sounds like that was like a regular thing for Achashverosh, that every once in a while he would look over the court records.
Yeah, it's yes, he was a responsible king and trying to figure out what to do, and if there was anything lacking in his fulfilling of his duties to the benefit of his loyal servants. Okay.
I have an interesting comment that says an alternative version of the Talmud allegorically understands the word king here as a reference to God. Surely sleep cannot be attributed to him, but when God in his wisdom chooses to ignore human needs, it is as if he were asleep. That sleep was now shaken by the distress of Israel.
Okay, that's good. Everyone understood that, what Lou just read?
Yeah, I have a problem with that, because Hashem is constantly aware. There's no unawareness of Israel.
Right, but I think the point is that Kadosh Baruch Hu is purposely, so to speak, ignoring the needs of Klal Yisrael in this case.
Yeah, but that's not sleep. That's awareness. he's aware and he chooses temporarily to, not protect us or whatever word you want to use, but Hashem is, there's no sleep allegory for Hashem. Hashem never sleeps.
Yeah, it's just as if he's he's appearing to be asleep. That's all.
Yeah. He's appearing, okay.
Like there's an explanation given to why do we have to get drunk on Purim to fulfill the command of not knowing the difference between Mordechai and Orah Haman, right?
Yeah.
That because really the basis of that is on a person knows something, right? You can't tell a person not to know something, right? He knows red is red and blue is blue. Can't say you can't know blue, you can't know red. Person forgetting something is not in the hands of a person. That's Mishamayim. The person remembers things, he forgets things. Those are things which are coming from divine intervention. So how is it possible that we should be able to reach a state of not knowing the difference between Mordechai and Haman? Like, you want to say you have to not know the difference between baseball and football. Anybody knows what football is, he knows it's football. Anyone knows what baseball is, he knows it's baseball. How can you be commanded not to know the difference between baseball and football?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody has any suggestions how to not know the difference between the two?
Well, if you are that drunk, your brain's not functioning properly. You're even having fantasies, hallucinations, devious thoughts. You're not in your right mind.
You could swing the baseball bat. at the
Could
football.
be that somebody would say, yeah. So right. So somebody could say, well, after all, Haman wasn't really not that bad a guy. Look, he was an orphan, and he grew up poor, and then he had money, and he had whatever, and so you say, hey, look, listen, who knows? Maybe if I was in Haman's shoes, maybe I would have acted like him. People have those kind of thoughts. I mean, if you're that drunk, you could think foolish things.
Correct.
I still have 2 lawsuits
That's
pending about
That's exactly a point, but a person.
Purim, about stuff I did. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What you say?
I still have 2 lawsuits. I still have 2 lawsuits from what I did in Purim in 1993. So I'm still trying to fix it.
Okay, don't worry about the lawsuits, Barry. They won't come to court for another 50 years. It'll be okay.
Is that
Sorry, what was going
is
on?
somebody that must be? I don't know who. Somebody's phone was ringing.
Yeah, there was one of mine over here. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Didn't answer it.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So it's impossible not to know something. A person knows the difference between football and baseball. You can't tell him not to know the difference between the two, right?
Just Hashem can do that, though.
Yeah, Hashem
If
can
you
cause him to
have-
forget. But here we have a mitzvah. We have a mitzvah not to know the difference between Haman and Mordechai. Now, how in the world are you supposed to achieve that?
By going asleep.
Well, you know,
Oh, so that's one possible other way, right? Getting drunk is one way. Falling asleep is another way. It's known what people people take the liquor because why they want to forget their troubles, right? Isn't that what the world says? Isn't that what people say?
right.
Yeah.
That's, you can, it's like a form of, if you get drunk enough, it's like a form of amnesia,
Right.
you know, where you were like, you have amnesia and you don't recognize people,
Right.
or even, you know, when people get senile and there's certain, you know, brain dysfunction. You don't know your own children. I mean, I've seen that. So liquor, you know, alcohol or whatever they were drinking back then could cause some temporary brain dysfunction, and you really don't know.
Right. And so that's a good way of achieving what we're supposed to try and achieve. So,
Right.
so that's two things. It's two things. One, we've been given this command not to know the difference between Haman and Mordecai. And we've also been given the way of achieving it. Okay, very good. Let's go on to the next pasuk.
Okay, vayemotze kasuv asher yigid Mordechai al bigtot v'teresh shnei sarisei hamelech mishmerei hasof asher bigshu l'shloach Yad B'melech Achashverosh. And it was found written that Mordechai had reported about Bigthana and Teresh, two chamberlains of the king of the guards of the threshold, who had planned to lay a hand on Achashverosh. Vayomer HaMelech Ma naase yikor ugedula leMordechai al zeh. What honor and greatness was done to Mordechai on that account? Vayomer naare hamelech, and the king's servants who said Mishoshav, to serve him, lo naase ima devar, and the king's servants who ministered before him said, nothing was done for him. Wow. Okay. Vayomer HaMelech, and the king said, Mi bechotzer, v'haman bo l'chotzer, beis HaMelech. And Haman came to the outside court of the king's house. The chitzona l'melech, Lemor lemelech los et Mordechai eitz asher hechin lo, and he had come to petition the king to hang Mordechai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
Right, so you see here, you see absolute hashgacha pratis, mamish, divine intervention over the course of many years. That first of all, that Mordecai was able to discover the plot against the king, and he was able to get the information to the king and have the plot foiled. And it also was hashgacha that he wasn't rewarded, had to be rewarded. Right, there would be no reason why Ahasuerus would want to favor him now at this particular point in time. And that particular point in time is exactly the time when Haman thought he was going to get his very best, absolute, perfect wish, right? He was hoping to indict Mordecai for being transgressing the will of the king and have him hung because of that.
Mm.
And you see at that very moment when Haman was planning to come and do that, Kadosh Baruch Hu caused that the king couldn't sleep, and that of all places they sought to mention to the king that what was in the chronicles of the king, and lo and behold, they discovered that Mordecai wasn't rewarded for that. So here comes Haman expecting to indict and therefore hang Mordecai. And at the same time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been working for years beforehand, right, to time this exact point in time, right? Exactly this point in time, the exact moment when Haman was coming to request the worst to do to Mordecai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu planned it that Mordecai was at that point supposed to receive the very best favors from the king. But in spite of all of that, why didn't Haman speak up and say, "We'll see in the next psukim"? Why didn't Haman say, "Well, you know what? Even if he did all these great things to the king, but he's not bowing down to me"? Why didn't Haman speak up and say that? He could have re-indicted Mordecai. Okay, let's see the next psukim. We'll try and get a little bit more explanation here.
ויאמר נהרי המלך עליו, והנה המן עומד בחצר, ואומר המלך יבוא. And the king's servant said to him, Haman is standing in the court. And the king said, let him enter. ויבוא Haman, ויאמר לו המלך, and Haman entered, and the king said, Ma la'asot ba'ish asher hamelech chofetz bikora. What should be done to a man whom the king wishes to honor? Vayomer Haman de libo, he said to himself, Lemi yachvotz hamelech la'asos yukor yuter mimeni. And Haman said to himself, whom would the king wish to honor more than me? Vayomer Haman el hamelech, ish asher hamelech chofetz biyakoro, a man whom the king wishes to honor. Yoviu levush malchus asher levashbo. Hamelech the suf asher rochav alav hamelech asher nitan keser malchus v'rosha. And Haman said to the king, whoever the king wishes to honor, let them bring the royal raiment that the king wore, and the horse that the king rode upon, and the royal crown should be placed on his head. Wow. Very modest guy, Haman.
Well, I mean, it could be that he was thinking that this was what he wanted to be done for himself.
Yeah, he did. Exactly.
Mhm.
That's what he said. He's thinking, oh, this must be me he's talking about. So he went all out.
Right. Good. Right.
V'naton halbush v'hasuf al yad ish misarei hamelech apartnim v'hil b'shu et ha'ish asher hamelech chofetz b'yakoro v'hirbivahu al hasus b'rochav ha'ir v'karu lefanov kacha yaseh leish asher hamelech chofetz bikoro. And let the raiment and the horse be delivered into the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, and let them dress this man whom the king wishes to honor, and let them parade him on the horse in the city square and announce before him, so shall be done to the man whom the king wishes to honor. Mhm. Put your foot in your mouth.
Well, what do you mean, Barry? What do you mean he put his foot in his mouth?
Well, he said the wrong thing about him. You know, he said exactly the worst thing he could say.
Why was this the worst thing to say?
Because he's thinking that all this is going to be done for him. So,
Right.
So he's saying, you know, all this majesty and dressing up and parading around this, you know, the city. So he's thinking, yeah, good.
Yeah,
That's
but,
what you should do.
okay, but why should that be the worst thing? After all, the whole show is gonna be over in a few hours, and then what's gonna happen? Everyone forget about it. What's the big deal?
Because Haman was a very jealous person. He wasn't thinking like that. He was unreasonable. That was his downfall. He was unreasonable in his hate for Mordecai. I mean, he had everything else. He had everything all set.
Mhm.
He found all this fabulous treasure, etc. You know, and he was very rich, and he was part of the king's court, etc., etc. So this old Jew is being stubborn. No, all right, Lozana Lane, you know. But no, it ate him up.
Right. Okay, very good.
It says in my footnotes that there's actually an undercurrent going on here that when he said, put the royal crown on his head, the king's face reddened. And that clued Haman into the fact that the king was not happy with that suggestion. That Achashverosh realized what Haman was doing, that Haman was telling him what he wanted for himself, and that he wanted the kingship for himself. And Achashverosh got angry about that. And when Haman saw that, he backpedaled a little bit, and he said, this is what is done for someone who the king wants to honor, in order to make it clear that it wasn't the characteristics of the person who was being honored that was dictating what was happening, but rather it was the fact that the king wanted to honor him.
Yeah, but wasn't that the question that Achashverosh put to Haman himself? Haman's response was to the question of the king. What should we do to a person that he wants to honor?
Right.
So,
But he could have said, put the crown on his head, and not said anything about announce that this is what is done to the person the king wants to honor, implying that people should think, oh, this person, you know, is suited to be king. So he's saying, no, it's not that this person is suited to be king, it's just that the king wants to honor him. He's softening it.
right.
Yeah, the second time when he mentions everything, he leaves the crown out. He doesn't mention the crown when he repeats everything.
Right. Footnote comments on that also.
Right.
For the same reason,
So,
that he saw
right.
Achashverosh get red in the face, So he softened his approach.
Right, right. It's good. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Let's see the next pasuk.
Vayomer Hamelech Lahaman Maher Kach et Halush ve'et Hasus kasher dibarto ve'asechein leMordechai HaYehudi Vayoshiv b'sha'ar Hamelech El tepel devar mikol asher debarto. And the king said to Haman, Harry, take the raiment and the horse as you have spoken, and do so to Mordecai the Jew who sits in the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that you have spoken. Okay, the tables have turned.
Now, why would it be that Haman himself has to lead Mordecai and just get one of the stable boys to lead him through? Why?
No,
why
well,
Haman?
No, because Haman said that. Haman said, yeah.
You're one of the most noble servants.
Right, yep, right. It's we're gonna do it actually. Yeah. This is Al Yad Ish Mesore Hamelech. Into the hand of one of the one of the regents, the noble princes of the king. So he himself said it.
So you see that Ahasuerus did consider Haman to be one of his highly honored servants, right?
Sure. Up until a certain point.
Yeah, sure. Okay, very good.
Vayikach Haman et Halbush ve'et Hasus vayalvesh et Mordechai v'yarkivehu b'rochav ha'ir vayikro lefonav kacha yase ish asher hamelech chofetz v'yikoro. And Haman took the raiment and the horse, and he dressed Mordechai and paraded him in the city square and announced before him, so shall be done to the man whom the king wishes to honor. So Haman was really suffering.
What happened to his complaint against Mordecai? He's not bowing down.
I guess he was so upset he just forgot about it. But at that point, I don't think Haman would have been successful. I mean, the king is read his chronicles and he says, "This is what I want done for Mordecai." So at that point, if Mordecai would have said to the king, "Oh, wait a minute, how could you do that for Mordecai? He doesn't bow down to me," it's like, so what? The king, because the king is saying, "This is what I want done. I owe this. It's overdue." So, anything Haman would have said would have just been, like saying to the king, "Oh yeah, fine, that's good. But what about my problem?"
Very, very good. Very good.
Yeah,
That's
right. So it wasn't the opportune time to say that.
Right. Very good. Okay. Let's proceed.
Also, I think that it becomes clear to Haman that Achashverosh is aware of what's going on, because it says that where it says, "Do as you have said," the footnote says, when a person is forced to do something against his will, he tends to omit details. Achashverosh sought to preclude that. So in other words, it was becoming clear that Achashverosh knew that Haman was against Mordecai and was not happy about it.
Okay. All right, but I mean, at this point, I wouldn't say that has Achashverosh changed his attitude towards Mordecai in any drastic way.
Yeah, because he read the Chronicles.
Well, don't forget, Mordecai was known to be a Jew, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And Achashverosh knew there was a decree against the Jews, correct?
Yes. But maybe he didn't really think about Mordecai per se. He just was saying, yeah, go get rid of all those Jews. But he didn't think, oh, go get rid of Mordecai particularly.
Well, if Mordecai saved him, then he can save Mordecai.
But this whole decree about the Jews was in the future. So it wasn't that they were in the middle of rounding up the Jews and the king wanted to save him. That was that was in the planning stage.
That's true.
But we do know that Achashverosh didn't like the Jews either. That's why they had to keep it secret that Esther was a Jew,
Right.
because that would have maybe killed the deal in the beginning anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? So
Okay, let's continue on.
Vayoshav Mordechai El Sha'ar HaMelech. Mordechai returned to the king's gate. Vahaman Nidchaf El Beito Avel Chafu Rosh. He rushed home. Haman rushed home mourning and with his head covered. So this shows Mordechai's greatness, because when after the parade was over, Mordecai returned where he's been staying all this time, to the king's gate. You know, to do everything he can to help the Jews. He wasn't. As soon as the parade was over, he went right back to business. He wasn't swayed. He wasn't swayed by all the charade.
Right. And what happened to Haman in the end also?
And then so Haman was he was crushed. Avel, he was in mourning, like somebody died. Avel. B'chafu Rosh, and his head covered.
Good. Okay.
He was really disgusted. Vayesaper Haman lezeresh ishta v'chol havov et kol asher yikaru, everything that happened. Vayomer lo Chamav v'zeresh ishta im mizera haYehudim Mordechai asher achilosa linpal lefanov lo tuchal lo ki nofo tefol lefanov. And Haman recounted to Zeresh his wife and to all his friends that everything that had befallen him. And his wise men and Zeresh his wife said to him, if Mordechai, before you whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish stock, you will not prevail against him, but you will surely fall before him. Oh, so they saw the shift in the politics.
Right. Good. Okay. One more pasuk and we'll take a little break.
V'odam medabrim ima v'sorise hamelech v'hegiu liyavchilo lahave et Haman el mishte asher asa Esther. And while they were still talking to him, the king's chamberlains arrived and hastened to bring Haman to the banquet that Esther had prepared. Woo! Okay. So now, obviously, when I think it means that they had to come and get him because he was late. He forgot all about it because he was so upset. And they had to come. I mean, when you get an invitation from the king to attend to the king's directions or whatever he wants, you don't have to be resummoned. You show up an hour before and be ready to be let in.
Yeah, but here he was busy taking Mordechai all around. I mean,
No, I mean after that. No, but he went home. In other words, he shouldn't have gone home. Just like Mordechai went back to the king's gate right away and took care of his business, Haman should have said, "Oh, I got an appointment with the king. I better take care of it." Because after all, he was all dressed up. He was, parading through the streets. So he probably had his, Chamberlain gear on.
Yeah.
But instead, he rushed home to be a crybaby.
Well, I mean, he got himself all messed up, right? I mean,
Oh, right, yeah. His daughter threw something on him.
so do you think they took him? Do you think they took him in to the king smelling up like that?
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe that's why he ran home to get changed. Yeah, I would think so.
Do we have a possible possukim relevant in the Pirkei Avot to any of what we've done this morning?
Yeah, but I think we'll have to probably wait for that. Maybe we'll do a review tomorrow.
Okay. All right, but right now we're stopping at Zion.
Right.
Right? Okay, so I put a mark there for tomorrow. Oh, yeah.
Right. That's it.
We're going to learn the Tanis Esther?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, wait, is it? Yeah. Are we learning?
I'll be prepared to learn, I think. Leonetta.
Okay.
So tomorrow's
All right.
Wednesday, right?
Yeah, but it's a Tanis, right?
The Tanis. And then Thursday is not Purim for us. What do you plan on doing on Thursday?
I'll probably be, so it's not Purim for me either. So if we all want to get together, I'm willing and able and wanting to. Why not?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Friday,
It
sure,
is
we're not
Purim
learning.
for me.
Ah,
But I think under the circumstances, at 9 o'clock in the morning, I won't be that drunk. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, my daughter reminded me that I'm going to be busy, that they have plans here. Okay, so I'll have to not attend on Thursday.
mhm. All right.
It's going to be noisy. Okay, but tomorrow we're learning.
Bez Hashem, we'll take one day at a
Okay.
time. We'll start